Well, hello, hello. This is Rosa, RCG Creations. How are you doing? I'm bringing to you a meal. It's going to be a crunchy and creamy chicken casserole. There'll be a pop-up, and the full description with recipe and ingredients will be in the description box. Okay, I got this from, it doesn't have a name on it, so I don't know. Somewhere on the internet, so I can tell you. And then I also have this, as you can see I've already used it. It's pre-measured cornbread mix. Okay, and it comes with the mix. I'll put that in the description box, and I will do a pop-up with the ingredients because I don't have that handy right quick. All I did was put the little sticker of the directions on how to make it. Okay, so it's a cornbread mix. So what we want to do is we want to get 2 cups of the mix. And I'm going to do the chicken recipe as a separate video, which will be after this cornbread mix, or it might be before. It just depends on where in line everything is, because I already got a bunch of stuff already put online. I'm melting my butter, and when you melt your butter, make sure it's on a low heat. And I gotta swirl it around and test it because I don't want to brown it. I made some a while ago, but I burned it. So I gotta keep an eye on the butter so I don't want it to burn. Okay, so that's a little bit more than a cup. There's still a lot more than a cup. Already a little bit less than a cup. Okay, now let's take a look. Okay, that's close enough. 1 cup. So we're going to do 2 cups of the mix. And I know I always say don't use metal, but this is a spoon, it's not a knife. And I'm being very cautious inside my glass jar because I don't want to mar it, scratch it. This is a half-gallon jar. I don't ever bake or pressure can or water bath this size. This size for me. Now everybody's different, but for me, this size is strictly for food storage. Okay, I think I'm done there. Oh no, a little more. But even though I'm not going to be pressure canning or water bath canning this jar, you still want to be careful with it. Okay, a little bit more. I got this new measuring cup, and it's going to take a while to take a minute or two to get used to it. It's almost time for me to make some more cornbread mix. Okay, so 2 cups of the mix, 1/4 cup of the melted butter. Turn that off. In my little bitty baby saucepan. I gotta put that somewhere where it won't get hot to cool down. So I mixed 2 cups of the mix, 1/4 cup of melted butter, 1 cup of buttermilk. We don't have buttermilk, and I haven't made my buttermilk powder, so I'm just going to use regular whole milk. But I've tasted this before, and it does taste a lot better if you do the buttermilk. Okay. And we're just going to mix the whole thing. Let me get this out of the way. Oh, we got to add our sugar, our 1 egg. And I like, hubby and I like sugar, just a little bit of sugar in our cornbread. We don't like it without sugar. And it's not a whole lot, it's just a little bit to taste. So there's a little bit of sweetness in there. Now we're going to mix this up. I'm going to mix my egg first to make sure that it's broken up. Now I'm going to mix the whole thing. And don't forget, like I always say, go to the bottom of the bowl. Now this is going to be a little bit on the lumpy side, and you want that for a good cornbread. You don't want a whole bunch of lumps, but you want some lumps. And I got some, just while I have you on the, while you're watching, I was able to purchase from Azure Standard some corn, that now I can grind my own corn to make my own cornmeal. So I don't have to purchase it now. Because I will tell you, I've made some fresh, just ground up whole wheat berries, hard white wheat berries, to make some whole wheat flour. And I tell you, the taste is phenomenal when you're using fresh ingredients. So those of you who are lucky enough to have a farm with a garden and animals, y'all are getting the best. But for those of us like me, I don't have room. I don't physically have the space or the time, or physically right now. But once I retire, I hope to have a small garden. And we hope to move to an area where we can have chickens, because right now in our neighborhood, the HOA will not allow us to have chickens. Now you see that? It's a little bit on the dry side. So I'm going to add just a little bit more milk. Now keep an eye on it. You want to do a little bit at a time, because you don't want this to be too wet. Now I'm just scraping my little stir stick. There's a name, it's a swivel something, but it's like a whisk. It is a whisk. It's a different type of whisk. But I like this when I'm doing my eggs. So anytime I have a recipe with eggs, I always like to use this instead of my regular whisk. Okay, I'm just taking all the excess off, is all I was doing. I was just tapping against the bowl to do that. Now let me just mix this up. Make sure it's a little bit more wet. Add a little bit more milk. And again, depending on your climate and your humidity, is one of the things you got to keep an eye out when you're baking, because all that has to factor in your mixes. So not every day is the same. Even though you follow the recipe to the T, it's not all the same because of the humidity in your area and the day that you're baking, and the time frame. Okay, yeah, that's a little bit more, but I still need a little bit more milk. Because you don't want it runny, but then you don't want it really dry either. You want it to be able to pour out. And see how that kind of pours out? It doesn't totally fall like a really liquid would. It's not lumpy, which is kind of what you want. Now I'm going to do the taste test, because make sure there's enough sugar in here. Oops. Nope, definitely need more sugar. And the sugar part, I just do to taste. I don't measure. I just go to taste. Because the sugar depends on what all I'm making with the cornbread, what kind of main dish that I'm making. And sometimes hubby and I love just cornbread with butter. Hot cornbread out of the oven with butter. That's our dessert. do a taste test. We're not sharing, so I can double dip. We're not sharing with nobody. No, a little bit more sugar. I didn't realize I was going to need this much. And I don't want to do too much, so you always want to add a little at a time. Mix a little bit at a time, and then mix again. And you can cook this in a cast iron, a loaf pan. I'm just going to use my glass casserole dish just because it's easy. And I've done it many times in that dish and I like it. So that's what I'm going to taste and try it. So let me do one more taste test. Actually, that's pretty good. I think that's pretty darn good. Hubby, you want to taste this to see if it's got enough sugar in it? He said no. You want to be in the video? Be my helper? He said no. Alright. So let's add a little bit more sugar because you know what? I took another taste. You gonna taste it? I'm making cornbread.
Duh.
I'll let you take a little taste, make sure it's got enough sugar in it. We're not sharing with anybody, so it's okay we doubled it. Here. No, here. Got enough sugar? Okay, he said it's enough sugar. Okay, good. So, now let me put, you want a oil, spray oil, your utensil, whatever it is, you're going to be baking it in. My oven's already preheated to 400. And you're going to cook it for about, you're going to bake it for about 20 minutes. Now, since this is going to be a side dish, I think, I'm not exactly for sure. I'll see if I can measure this pan. And the reason is we don't want it to be really high like a cake, because this is going to be a cornbread. It's going to be a side dish for us, because it will rise. Okay. Now you just want to smooth it out. So, and then when it's in the baking process, it's going to smooth itself out a little bit anyway. But you want to smooth it out as much as possible. Now, if you made it more runny, it would really smooth out easily. But like I said, we don't care for it to be really runny, but we don't want it to be thick either. So there we go. Spoon off the extra off the spoon. And then let me just smooth that out. Let me dry my hands. We'll put it in the oven. And we'll set the timer for 20 minutes. And then we'll bring it back when we do the taste test. And while this is in the oven baking, I'm going to start off on my main dinner, which is that creamy chicken casserole. Okay, so we'll bring it back when we do the taste test. Okay, we are back. The cornbread is done. Take a look. See, it's golden brown down the bottom. Now this was made with white cornmeal, not yellow cornmeal. That's why it's not as yellow on top. And then here's the slices. And we're going to do the taste test. Ouch. If you wanted it a little bit more fluffy, more like a cake mix, then add 2 eggs into the mix versus 1. And then add just a little bit more of milk, but really buttercream makes it taste a whole lot better. Okay, let's do the taste test. Ooh, ha 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 ha. That's good. Personally, I think it could use a little bit more sugar, but it's good. And it's, see the consistency of it all? Oh, that's hot, that's hot, that's hot, that's hot. But anyway, to me, I think this was a 1 thumbs up, not a 2, but a 1 for, it's a little bit on the dense side. And my corn mix, once you pre-measure the whole thing, it'll last a good 6 months. And mine is right about a year, but I'm almost done with it. I didn't really want to waste it. But it tastes good. I double checked to make sure there was no buggies in it. But that's okay because I vacuum packed it, so I know there's not. And then once I opened it up, I put the plastic lid on it, and it's been sitting in my pantry, in my long-term storage pantry. Because I don't, like I said, we're trying to do this weight program, so we're trying to stay away from breads and pasta as much as possible. But ever so often, we want some, and we're going to make some. Because I don't want to waste all that food and all that processing time that I did. But you can definitely taste that it's cornbread. So I need to make this last batch. And I'm thinking I'm going to do a creamy corn casserole with this cornbread mix. Where you do exactly what we just did today. Only you add 1 can of cream corn to the mix. And it puffs it up and makes it a little bit moist because of the moisture from the corn. And that could be either a side dish or it could be just a main course if you wanted just it's called a corn casserole. But all you do is get a cornbread mix, add cream of corn to it, and then season it. Now, because I like to use the sweet cream of corn. So I think that's what we're going to do the next time we make this, just because I want to hurry up and use this batch before I waste it, because I don't want to waste my food. Because it still rose and it tastes fantastic, and there's no, I mean, you can definitely tell it's cornbread. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next video. Take care now. Bye-bye.